What is going on, everybody? Welcome to your Big Ten Media Day recap episode of the Coach and the Couch Potato, along with our captain's picks for the season. As always, I'm Jeremy the Couch Potato. Opposite side of the screen, we got Coach Slate. And before we dive into the good, juicy stuff, we just wanted to throw it out there as a little reminder. With in conjunction to our chase for 1,000 followers on YouTube, we are going to be giving away this Eddie George signed mini helmet with inscription and Fanatics hologram. More details on that to come, but we will be running it in conjunction with 1,000 followers on YouTube. Media days today for the Big Ten, and it was a little different being in Vegas, but you gotta try to get the West Coast media, I guess.
Yeah.
We just wanted to kind of hit some bulleted points from what Coach Day said. Not a whole lot out there about what the guys said. The Ohio State contingent was Coach Day, Caleb Downs, Sonny Styles, and, of course, that dude that wears number 4, Jeremiah Smith. A lot of things to come out for probably – I would have to go back and do the research, but we'll start with the obvious topic. Who's the favorite to win the conference? And I don't think it's a surprise to anybody. Penn State's the favorite.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Penn State's they've got so much coming back, man. I mean, you got Drew Aller, you got the running backs who decided to come back. I mean, the defense is going to be loaded. They've got a ton of talent, and I understand why they would be the favorites. The thing is going to be, can they win the big one? Can they win the big game? You know what I mean? And so I totally get why they would be the favorites, man. I think they've got a good squad, and they're going to be a tough out against anybody that they play. That's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's very reminiscent of the 23 and 24 Michigan and Ohio State teams.
Yep.
Sans the sign stealing in 23, and the $20 million roster in 24, if that's what you want to buy into.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, the thing that sets Penn State apart is James Franklin is still on the sideline. And like you said, he's got to prove he can win the big one.
Yeah.
And to this point, he really hasn't. I mean, did win a playoff game. I mean, so, and honestly, had Notre Dame right where they wanted them.
Yeah.
I mean, they should have, and honestly, you look at the Big Ten championship game, they should have beat Oregon.
Yeah.
So as far as some Buckeye-centric stuff, obviously the big question, we've talked about it since, the day after the championship game, who's going to be the quarterback? and Ryan Day, in true Ryan Day fashion, essentially comes out today and he goes, quarterback race is 50-50.
Yeah.
Ryan Day is really good at this, though.
Yeah.
Like, somebody asked him, tell us something good about your quarterbacks, thinking that it was going to be about Lincoln and Julian. He starts the conversation with Tavian.
Yeah.
And talks about, the athleticism, the build, the frame, the arm strength. I did think it was funny. Not funny, but I think it's a little bit of a tell. When he mentioned Lincoln Kienholz, he mentions how great of an athlete he is, which we have said that for, a year.
Yeah.
And he did repeat as the home run derby winner at the Cardell Jones softball game. But with Julian saying, he actually talked football metrics.
Yep.
His arm strength, his athleticism. I still have zero reason to think it's not going to be Julian saying.
Yeah, I think one of the things that I like that Coach Day said when he talked about the quarterbacks is he brought up the fact that things didn't really click for Will Howard until late in the preseason, right? It was still a deep battle, and then it started to click, right? And so, listen, somebody's going to have to take full ownership of the team. And we have not been given a reason not to trust Coach Day, right? And so I think it's going to be Coach Saying, but I think he's got, two guys in Tavian, and I think obviously with Lincoln that are going to go out there and compete. I think Lincoln's got all the traits as well. And so I think it's going to be Saying, but, we'll see. But Coach Day I trust him, and I think he's going to pick the right guy. And, I think Saying's intangibles, though, are going to end up overtaking the battle, and that's what's going to pull him forward.
Yeah, I agree. One thing that jumped out to me that I loved from the team standpoint of it is this not only does the staff but the players realize you are not the defending national champions. That was last year's team.
Yeah.
You can't take the trophy like Ryan Day said. I mean, I guess you could. Um, see August.
Yeah.
Um, but these guys are still hungry. It's hard to get a squad that's this team's still talented. Make
Yeah.
no mistake about it. But for them to be as hungry as they are already, and I love how he uses the term angry still.
Yep.
He wants an angry football team against Texas. Um, what are your thoughts? As somebody who has gone through, you know, ending one year, going to another year, how do you get your team to realize everything that happened, good, bad, or ugly last year, is done?
Yeah, it's tough, especially when you find when you have success in one year with a big senior class. It's hard to turn the page because there's a lot of things that you want to mimic from that year, but you have a totally different group, right? I remember we had a previous team that I was coaching on. We had a senior class who was extremely talented, but they were like the most laid back group in history, right? You didn't really need to coach them hard. You could just tell them to show up on Friday and they were going to go out and ball out. You didn't have to coach all the little details. And we had about 25 to 26 of them. The following year, we had a group of kids who you had to coach every small detail. You had to coach them how to tie their shoes. You had to coach them how to get off the bus, how to do all the little tiny things, right? And so it was a completely different dynamic. And so, like Coach Day said, it's a completely different foundation that you have to lay. And so it's not the same team. You're wearing the same uniform, you're representing the same school, but it's not the same team. And so you can't coach them the same way that you coached the year before. And so that's the cool part of being a coach, man. Like understanding the different dynamics of different teams. And so somebody who is like as in tune with the mental side of things as Coach Day is, I think that's one of like his strengths is being able to tune in and dial into that, dynamic of the team and understanding that this group has to be different than last year's group. It's going to be a young team. We don't have all those vets that we had last year. And so that is one of the fun parts. And so being able to find whatever makes this group tick and being able to create that hungry anger and creating their like, hey, you guys got to find your own niche. This isn't Jack Sawyer's team. This isn't JTT's team anymore. What is your team, Sonny? What is your team, Caleb? Like being able to tap into that is going to be the challenge. And that's also what's going to be the fun part of this team because they now have to write their own legacy. And so being able to create that and cultivate that is going to be fun to see. And I can almost bet you and guarantee you that we're going to see a very, very angry team because I guarantee like they're hearing it nonstop,
Yeah.
like in their ear all the time, but they're probably sick of it. And so it's going to be fun to see, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you said, they've heard all of the Penn State this, Penn State that, Arch Manning this, Arch Manning that. Um, it's going to be fun. I look forward to our season preview episode.
Yeah. Yeah.
I really can't wait to dive into that. Couple guys that Coach Day gave props to. We and everybody else that follow Ohio State football have talked about defensive line concerns, and I thought for him to single out Will Smith Jr. and
Yeah.
give him props, that's a guy who flew under the radar. Then he got
Yep.
hurt when he got to campus, and obviously genetically, it's in his blood.
Yep.
Um, you know, a kid who just like we've talked about these guys that want to earn that offer. He earned that offer,
Yes, he did.
and now I think he's going to finally get a chance to shine.
Yeah. And it's a kid that you couldn't be more happy for. A local kid, Dublin Kaufman. You're just excited for him to get that shout out, and you hope that it comes to fruition. Like you said, he got hurt. Obviously, we know his backstory with his father and everything. You just hope that it all clicks and it comes together. But this is a kid that you often forget about that we have him on the roster. Like this is he's a very good player. He earned that Ohio State offer. You go back and Coach Stokes, his high school coach, is a buddy of mine. He raved about his work ethic and the different things that he brought to that team when he was there at Dublin Coffin. And so this is a kid that if he can provide some really good, solid depth for that defensive line, like that is going to go such a long way this season. And so this is a kid that we really need it to click for this year, man. So I'm rooting for him. And I love to hear Coach Day, pump him up because I think that will go a long way. When you get that validation from the
Oh yeah.
boss, like man, that is like the ultimate recognition, man. So that's going to go a long way for him.
Yep, absolutely. And then another guy who, you've pretty much already called your shot that he is going to play somewhere on the offensive line, and that's Austin Sareveld.
Yeah,
I feel like anytime Ryan Day is in front of a microphone, Austin Sareveld is getting props.
yeah. Just again, Jay Buck always says junkyard dogs, right? Like that is the way you describe this guy. I mean, his willingness to play everywhere, right? You need somebody, I'll go there. And I think he's just one of the best five that we have up front. And so you have to find a spot for him. I think his spot is going to be at right tackle. That is just my prediction. I could be way off on that. But I think he proved his worth this spring playing left tackle. I think he is going to be our right tackle this offseason or this upcoming season. And so, listen, he's got to play. It's just he's got to play. I think he's earned the right to do that. And so I'm pumped up for him, man. He is a junkyard dog that will do whatever it takes to help the team. And so we can't have too many of those guys on our roster.
No, you need dogs. And then the last thing that I had from the media day takeaways, obviously the playoff model is a hotbed thing. And Ryan Day essentially has came out and said, we are a believer of the 4-4-2-2 model,
Okay.
where the SEC gets 4, the Big Ten gets 4, the ACC gets 2, and the Big 12 gets 2. He goes, but we're not going to back that model until the SEC adds a ninth conference game.
Okay.
Because why should we be at a disadvantage as to who we're going to get in potentially when you are playing that extra non-conference game, normally cupcake week in November? It blows my mind. Obviously all Power Fives or Power Fours play schools who they are going to outclass on the field. Ohio State does it every year. I think there's a year coming up that our non-conference schedule is like Ball State, Kent State, and Rice or something.
Yeah.
Obviously that's a little different than Texas, Alabama, Georgia. But why play those games if they're going to put you at a disadvantage? And that's basically what they said. And Tony Petitti, who we have a whole different set of thoughts on after this week, also came out and essentially said the same thing. So I feel like you're kind of seeing a line in the sand drawn.
Yeah, and I'm all for Coach Day throwing his weight around, man. Listen, and I support that. I don't really care, honestly, like
Right.
how they do the playoff seeding. But if the Big Ten feels a certain way, and if Ohio State feels a certain way, I support that. I support the fact that hey, we're not going to support this until you add an extra conference game. Like I understand why Coach Day would feel that way, so I support that. And if the Big Ten needs to throw their muscle around, then go do it, man. I get that. And so listen, I'm in full support of that, but nonetheless, however they want to do it, let's do it, and just make
Yep.
sure that we get in the playoffs every year.
Exactly. That was kind of my big stuff that I took away from everything you see, you hear, and that today. What jumped out to you?
The big thing for me was obviously, defensive guy, the defensive stuff that when he talked about with Coach Patricia, when he talked about, wanting to make sure that when they hired somebody and what took them so long was finding somebody that could bring stuff that was new to the defense, but not changing the structure at which
Yep.
they have gotten really good at over the last few years. And that may seem like a very easy thing to do, but that's a difficult
Yeah.
thing to do. You got to find a defensive coach that is, number one, secure in themselves and doesn't have an ego when it comes to their scheme. And I know that sounds crazy, but a lot of guys are like, no, this is what I do and this is how I do it, right?
There's one in State College.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, and so, the fact that Coach Patricia is willing to kind of like, hey, we can make this work and I will work around that and do what I feel is best, like that shows growth in Coach Patricia and what we didn't see when he was in Detroit. And it shows versatility and it goes back to what he did in New England. And so I'm excited to see how that plays out. I don't know if he's going to be a good coordinator for us. We don't know that. We still need to see it in live action. But the fact that he was able to go a little more in depth into that hire today, like that was our during Big Ten Media Days, like that was something that I was very intrigued by. So that definitely like stood out to me for sure. And then we talked about Coach Hartline as well. Talked about him being a really good player. And then he was a really good player that turned into a really good coach, right? Now he's a really good coach. Now he's turning into a really good coordinator, right? And so like just talking about that development of Coach Hartline and how he's going to continue to work hand in hand with Coach Bowen. I really do think, like, I know Coach Hart has that offensive coordinator title, but I do think it's going to be more of a co-type thing with Coach Hartline actually calling the plays. But I think Coach Bowen's going to have a major, major hand in what they do in the run game specifically, and so I do think that's going to be a really good marriage of what we're doing on offense, and it's going to allow Coach Day to really be that CEO. So those were the big, nerdy coaching things that really stood out to me. And then, a separate thing, JJ did his Mount Rushmore of Ohio State receivers, and I thought that was pretty cool. Right? You always worry about these. You get a kid from the South, like, is he truly a Buckeye fan? Did he do his research before he got up here? He had Chris Carter, Jackson Smith and Jigba, Marv, and Teddy Ginn. Like those were his Mount Rushmore of Ohio State receivers. So I thought that was pretty cool too, man.
And the kid's probably going to be better than all four of them.
Yeah, yeah. The guy who was interviewing him said you can add yourself to this. He's like, no, I can't do that yet. So I was like, all right.
I had a conversation with somebody this week in the memorabilia world, who had spoken to a friend of theirs, so it's kind of a degree of separation thing, who did a signing with a former Buckeye that graduated, that was part of this year's senior class, who knows JJ very, 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 very well. And that player was asked, how good can Jeremiah Smith be? And he goes, next level.
Wow.
Like, if he puts his mind to it, he goes, he could arguably be the greatest receiver of all time.
That's awesome.
So big, big, big praise from a former Buckeye. And the kid's just built different.
Yeah.
And speaking of that, we'll give him some advertising. Sunday, August 17th, from noon to 1:30 at Polaris, the Dick's is reopening, and
Okay.
he is going to be there.
All right.
I'm going to assume that the line is going to be to Delaware, to get in the door from Polaris.
Yeah.
And I mean, people-wise, not cars.
Yeah.
People. Odds are, if it follows the trend of the Dick's stuff, they'll sign a little postcard with the Dick's logo, that kind of thing. Just some food for thought. That was our commercial break for Jeremiah. And then, camp starting up in a week. That means captains.
Yep.
Obviously, your captains can set the tone for camp. You see all of these behind the scenes shows. They did the one, was it Training Days when Urban was here? I think they called it.
Yeah.
And you saw these dudes sleeping anywhere they could during their breaks.
Yeah.
So your captains really set the tone. So we wanted to go over our captains' picks to kind of round down this episode. And I think I'm going to guess we have at least 3 the same. In the Ryan Day tenure, it's been anywhere between 4 and 6 captains. I think there was actually a year we had 3, but that's very, very rare.
Yeah.
I think that was 3, and that was the year they had a rotating 4th. Because you always are going to send 4 out there.
Yeah.
So I think the most obvious one, and stop me if I'm wrong, is the best defensive player. You know what? I'm not going to be a homer. The best defensive player in a secondary in college football, because Dylan Stewart is really, 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 really good.
He's pretty good.
Colin Simmons is really, really, really good.
Pretty good.
Caleb Downs is going to be a captain.
Yeah, I agree. I agree 100%.
I think we also agree on the second one. I think Sonny Styles is going to be a captain.
Agree 100%.
I think my third one that's a given is Austin Saraveld.
Okay. All right.
I really, because of the intensity and the fire, I could see Luke.
Yeah.
But I think the way that Saraveld has got hyped up, and you're going to have an O-lineman. It's just a given.
Yeah.
So those, I think, are the 3 easy ones.
Okay. I think, obviously I would love my guy Luke to be a captain. I think next year for sure. I think Luke will be a captain if he decides, if he has a big year, if he might go NFL or whatever. But I think next year for sure Luke will be a captain. But I think Caleb for sure. I think Sonny for sure. I think JJ is going to be a captain. I do. I think his work ethic is through the roof. I do. And then the way Coach Day talked about Carnell taking a step forward today as a leader makes me think that he might be another one. So if I had to put my money on somebody, I would say him. And then I would go with a 5th one, and I would go with Saraveld, just because I think he has been so versatile and has just been so representative of what Ryan Day has been preaching about this program over the last 3 or 4 years. Yep. And so if I had to pick, I don't know, I don't think it will be 5, but I would pick 5. Like those would be my 5. I don't know. I think JJ could be back and forth, but I think with them sending him today, like his work ethic, I think it's a no-brainer. But I hope Luke is a captain though. God, I'd lose my mind if he is.
So I do have Carnell Tate as my 4th.
Okay.
So I've got Downs, Styles, Tate, and Saraveld.
Okay.
Now, I'm with you on Jeremiah.
Yeah.
But I just don't know that they're going to want 2 guys from the same room.
I get that. I get that.
Always. So on my paper, I had those 4, and then I have a line, and I have Jeremiah, and then I also have Caden Curry.
Yeah,
I think
that
that's
too.
the type of dude who is a captain.
I could see that too.
And again, I don't know if they'll go to 6. I think they stay at 4.
Yeah.
It would be interesting if they stay at 4, and you have JJ and Carnell.
Yeah.
But stranger things have happened.
That is true. That is true.
Urban always wanted his quarterback to be a captain.
Yeah.
That's not going to happen this year, unless it's Lincoln, and even if he's the backup.
Yeah.
I mean, how weird would that be though to have your backup quarterback as a captain?
Yeah. Good call with Caden Curry. I didn't even think about him. That's a good one. That's a good one.
When I was doing this, I tried to go position room by position room, and just think where. And Bennett Christian, the way he talked about him, could be.
Yeah.
But I think that the 3 for sure. I mean, how cool would it be if it was Lorenzo Styles?
Yeah,
and
that
you
would be
had
sweet,
Lorenzo
man.
and Sonny.
Yeah,
I
that'd be
mean,
sweet.
but
That'd be
I
sweet.
just don't know. I think the names we threw out between the names that both of us said, I think we covered the four.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
it'll be interesting to see though.
yeah, no doubt.
Um, so yeah, I think that kind of wraps up media days. We will. We're almost there, man. We are less than 42 days away. I know it's 42 on Saturday,
It's
um,
crazy.
or as I said on Saturday, Bobby Carpenter days away.
Yeah,
Um, but as always, we appreciate you guys. Make sure you like the video, you subscribe to the channel, hit that comment. I don't care if it's you guys suck. Leave us a comment. Don't forget to interact with us on the other socials as well, Facebook, Instagram. Um, we do have a TikTok. We'll probably be more active on there when the season comes because we'll have better clips. But with that, we will see you guys soon.